Hi and welcome to our next Governor video. We're focusing on home learning today because we want to give you as governors an insight into what we've done on home learning across the trust, so that if we have any external scrutiny, you know what's going on, you know what each of the schools are doing. Once again, I've been joined by Faye and Joe. The first thing we're going to talk to you is briefly about home learning strategy. So hopefully you've seen enough of our documents over the past few months to know that home learning is something that we see not as an end destination. Home learning is something that we want to be pushing way beyond when COVID is over, and how we take all of our resources and infrastructure that we've built and push learning on to essentially the next level using some of these home learning approaches. So everything that we're building now is for the long term. It isn't a short term tick box exercise. There's a lot of thinking going into this, and just to demonstrate some of that, we're going to talk through some of these approaches. So you've seen we went from the learning projects previously, very static thing. Then we moved to iSchool when kids are off, and some of that was elements of recorded lessons. Then we moved to fully recorded lessons, and now we've incorporated, as part of Lockdown 3, live lessons. So to talk about that to start with, Faye's just going to give us a little bit of an insight into recorded lessons. Over to you, Faye.
So with the recorded lessons, it is a structure that a lot of staff, especially if they've had a bubble closure, were doing already within their lessons. So it was something that staff were familiar with, or there were key players within each school that staff knew how to do the recorded sessions. To support this, we had done some guides and things on that, so that staff that didn't know could use those to help them. But with the recording element, I think what's important is, although we've introduced this live element into our home learning strategy, not all children will necessarily be able to attend those live sessions for one reason or another. It could be due to devices, different things like that. So having the recorded lessons still allows all children within a class to access that learning for that day. But also, more importantly, probably, is that children, if they're struggling with something, or if they've had a bit of an input within the live session and then need to recap something, or parents need to recap something because they haven't quite understood, the record element allows parents to go back and review what the teacher's been modelling and what they need to do to help children to try and understand it better. And also thinking about beyond COVID, those videos and things can be used then to support children that might have gaps in learning, to be used with different elements for children that we need to fill those gaps as well.
Can I just ask you about, with the recorded sessions, we've said to the teachers there's a ideal amount of time that modelling takes, and also a number of slides it takes. Can you just say something briefly about that?
Yeah, so just to obviously bear in mind teachers' workload, what we've asked is that there are a limit to the slides, so that might be different for different subjects, and that we've asked for no more between 3 to 5 minutes of the recording as well, so it's not taking up lots of time for them to do that recording. But obviously some teachers are choosing to go above those 5 minutes, but we ask for around that 5 minute mark.
The other thing about why that is important is, if you're asking a teacher to do a recorded session for 3 to 5 minutes, you're asking them to essentially think about the core components of what it is they want the child to learn. So we're asking them to be very precise with their teaching and thinking really clearly about the structure. So we think that any concept being delivered at home has got to be one the children can understand quite quickly. Therefore, 3 to 5 minute videos should be able to explain that. So Joe's going to tell us a little bit more about the live element of the lessons.
Yeah, what we've done is in this Lockdown 3, we've introduced a live element to the lessons. This is really important sort of development for us, because one of the key things in effective teaching is that relationship that the teacher has with the pupil, and vice versa. Now, when you're learning remotely, if you're not using that live element, that's one of the things that's probably a bit weaker in the pedagogy. So the idea is that in the core subjects of maths and English, we introduce a 15-minute live session every day for each of those subjects, and that is where the teacher can A, check in on children, B, question children and activate that prior knowledge, and also sort of introduce and model and scaffold concepts in a live way, and ask questions of individual children. Now that happens in the recorded lessons. There is modelling and scaffolding and all those elements of good teaching, but it's not quite got the interactivity. So by introducing that blended approach where there's a mixture of live and offline, we really address the real core elements of what great teaching is. And as Faye's already said, you know, the actual recorded lessons sort of feed in from the live session and allows that flexibility for our families in our context to sort of access that learning when they want. So timetable core live sessions followed up by the flexibility of the recorded sessions, you know, maximises that flex for our families to enable children to access, you know, access lessons and learning at any time of the day.
So Faye's now just going to talk to us about the infrastructure, the technical support that's been put in place to make sure that home learning is running really efficiently across the trust. So can you just say a few things that you've done, Faye?
Yeah, so to support the recorded sessions, we put in place some video guides. So Steve and I pre-recorded some videos on how you make those recorded sessions. For the live element, because that was something that was very new to lots of staff across the trust, Joe and I worked on different strategies and kind of tested different things linked to the Google Meets. So we made sure, we did lots of problem solving to make sure that only children couldn't access the meets until teachers were there, and to make sure that was safe. We also did some live sessions online looking at all the technical elements. So I invited teachers along to come to a session, and we looked at all the different functions of Google Meet and the different add-ons and extensions that you can have that can support that technical side and those live sessions as well. In addition to that, obviously, we asked staff to have a go, and we asked them to look into it and come back with any feedback. And then over the last couple of weeks, what we've been doing is fielding any of those problems or issues, sometimes offering one-to-one Google Meets with staff so we can model and show by sharing our screen and looking into different problems staff might have. But also then, if not, going away, seeing if we can find the problem, a resolution to the problem, and then sharing that with staff as well. So staff have still got that. They can drop in an email anytime, and we can try and resolve some of those technical issues that they might be having with their live elements.
Great, thanks. Now, the thing about the live elements is, at the start of the week, when we first introduced it, you know, we did have some staff feeling quite anxious, but because of the great work that Joe and Faye have done in terms of technical support, the good thing about that was as we progressed through the week, the calls stopped coming through with technical issues, and people became more confident and started to see the power of it. And we've had a lot of positive feedback from parents about that live element of the session. Also, the thing that we offered staff to do was to buddy up with someone else when delivering that live session. So they've got another professional there to support and in the room. One final thing to say about the live sessions is we've written to all parents to say we record them for safeguarding purposes, and all we do is they sit on our system, which is secure, so we're okay for GDPR, but we keep them there in case ever there's a safeguarding issue, and also to protect the staff member that session is being recorded, and that's all within our internal system. So that's a really important thing to talk around. Joe's now going to talk around the system to support attendance and how we know children are engaging with home learning. So can you tell us a bit more, Joe?
Yeah, I mean, we wanted to really track the attendance, because obviously after the first lockdown, you know, we wanted to move forward, and the engagement during that first lockdown was a bit haphazard, and it was really difficult because we were relying on children sort of self-registering and putting in attendance forms and things like that. So with the advent of live lessons, what we've managed to do now is within Google Meet have a sort of digital register. So every time people attend a meet, it marks them as present. We've also got in-school systems where you know, the DSLs are checking on attendance and chasing up non-attenders. And really trying to have a handle on what the pupil engagement is. And that's had a really positive effect. I mean, I think the live lessons themselves has really sort of engaged children. It's put a little bit of pressure on them, I think, knowing that their teacher's going to be there live to actually attend the lesson as well. So I think that sort of structure has really improved. And at the moment, I know it's early days, you know, we're only just second week into that. But we're getting between 70 and 90% pupil engagement on a daily basis across the schools at the moment, which is pretty good.
Yeah. Okay. So that's really helped all of that monitoring and those systems. There's been some good innovation with that across the schools for how they record it. What we're really going to be asking schools, and we are asking schools to do, is we're averaging 80% attendance. What we want to know now is what are people doing about the 20%. Now that takes us into the next element I want us to talk around, which is fail safes within the system. So we've got DSLs checking on the attendance of those children, but the other thing that we've got going on is we are paying for periodic reviews of our home learning. We're using Paul Longdon, who we've used in the past before, who's got experience working across schools and is an Ofsted inspector. We want his opinion on how our system's working and where there are gaps in it, and we'll report back on that when he gives us some feedback. But essentially that's a fail-safe built into the system. One of the things he's already asked us is, are we providing paper-based learning for families who can't access the internet? Now, we feel really strongly that actually that is a superficial thing to do, because if you offer a paper-based option to parents, you can say you tick a box. But essentially, we've now got the infrastructure. We spent £70,000 minimum on Chromebooks across the map. We spent at least £5,000 to £10,000 on Wi-Fi hotspots and internet access for our families. There are no barriers to why a child can't access the internet or access Google Classroom. Now, we feel that if we offer paper-based, what we're doing is that child who is most in need, the gap is going to widen. That child needs their teacher delivering live sessions to them and recorded sessions. So we will provide the tech. The only place paper-based will come in is if we've got a child with specific learning needs who the SENCO has identified as needing additional work and support in that way. Other than that, we won't be going down the paper-based route, because we've got to change behaviours and steer parents in the right way. And a paper-based situation, I think, just delays the inevitable, which is we need to move those children getting teacher input. So that's a little bit of an overview there, and the fail-safes. The other thing now, I just want to finish up with this video, is what you can do to support home learning. And we've had a chat about it, and we've come up with 3 key questions that you can ask your head teachers. Just 3. Now, you will find, what we'd like you to do is when you've asked these questions, record them in the Governor portal. You can click on the templates. There's a Governor monitoring form. Please record your questions and answers on there when you've spoken to head teachers about them, so we've got some record of you taking this course of action. And we're going to be building a Governor portal video to share with you that will come out at the same time as this video anyway, so you know how to do that. But Joe's going to tell us about the 3 key questions.
Yeah, I think the first one would be, I know Steve's alluded to it already, is asking your schools how they've increased access to technology within this period. Obviously, we're trying to move away from any sort of paper-based stuff. And really, as Steve said, that's because moving out of lockdown, we still want a blended learning approach. So we want to continue using this technology for home learning outside of a lockdown situation. So I would be asking, how has that individual school improved access to the tech for their children, particularly for disadvantaged children as well. I'd also be asking about pupil engagement. What is the pupil engagement in one form of online learning and on a daily basis? What is it across the week? And also, I would dig a little bit deeper into finding out, and what about the percentage that is not accessing the learning? What systems are in place to chase those up, and why those children are not engaging? So that'd be a good one to chase up. And finally, I'd probably be asking about parental engagement and parental feedback as to what they think of our online provision and how they think that's changed over the 2 school lockdowns, which give you some really valuable information on the effectiveness of our remote provision.
Now, the other thing just to say is we are producing a Google form. Faye's going to be producing it, a survey that goes out to all of our parents across the map to gather some of this information. Your head teacher will have a lot of soft information of emails they've had from parents and engagement for other class teachers, so you'll have that there that you can talk to them about. Now this is the end of the video, and what I'm going to say is thanks for taking the time to watch. We did take on board your feedback from previously. You'll notice that we're in a different setting for this video. There's no beeping going on in the background. We did try a round table, but ultimately we couldn't fit everything around it. Someone recommended a wide angle lens. Unfortunately, we haven't got the capacity to go and buy a wide angle lens at the moment, but we're doing our best to take on board your feedback. So this is our second attempt. And if you've got any more feedback for us, please let us know. Me and Joe are considering getting some makeup for the third video.
Softer lighting.
Yeah, and we're going to get an auto cue as well. So we're going to continue to try to improve these, but we know they're not going to be perfect. But thanks for watching, and this one is half the time of the first video. So we hope that in itself is a step in the right direction. Thanks very much. See you later.
Cheers.